Welcome to the session on validating user input in ASP.NET. Our objectives for this session are as follows. Number 1, understanding ASP.NET validators. 2, understanding regular expressions. Why do we need validation? ASP.NET provides us with validation controls that help us perform validation on user input. But why do we need validation controls? As programmers, we need to follow one universal statement that is always true. Never trust user input. This does not mean we don't respect the user, but the responsibility of making sure that proper data alone enters the system lies with us. We take complete responsibility here, and there is no relaxing the role. That is why we always have to validate user input. Before we look at different validators in ASP.NET, let us look at a sample program. Let me bring up Visual Web Developer and let me open the code which I downloaded from the website. I click on File, Open Website, and this is my top level folder where I extracted the contents of the file which I downloaded from the portal, and I say Open. Okay, so let me select default.aspx first and run this program. So this will launch the browser and run the application. So here am I at the screen which has some labels and corresponding text boxes. Okay, so now before entering any data, I'm just going to click on Submit. It tells me, please fix the following errors. Name is required, contact number is required, age is required, email, password and password are required. Okay, so let me first enter the name. Look at the star here, right? This means that it is compulsory. Originally it was not there, but after I submitted without any data, the star came into play. So this way we give an indication to the user that, hey, this is something you need to take care of. Let me enter my name here. Okay, my contact number is required, so let me enter some value. Okay, okay, now on my email, let me enter some values. Okay, and then my password, I'll say C is my password. Okay, and then again I enter ABC. Okay, so I have entered ABC for the password, and for the re-enter password I also specified ABC. If I had specified something else, ABC, let's say 123. Now if I click on submit, it will say, number 1, the email is not valid. Okay, it is not a proper format, and it says the passwords do not match. Okay, let me take it out. Let me say 123. Okay, and then I say 123, and I'm just tabbing it. See, the red star is gone. So this control is fine. I click on submit again. It says your email is not valid. Okay, let me do one more thing. Instead of on my age, let me give some alphanumeric value. When I say submit, it will tell me you must be at least 18 years old. Sign up here. So AAA is not a number. Okay, so it's not able to validate it. Let me say 15 and try this. It says no, you must be 18 years old. Fine. Let me say 18. Let's try. Okay, that's fine. The only problem is here with the email now. So the email format should be something like a proper email. Okay, and if I do a submit, okay, oh, still I have a problem. It says my contact number should be 10 digits. Okay, it is just 5 digits now. So let's try now. ABC and I say submit. Okay, now all validations are fine. It tells me thank you for submitting your data. What I would recommend you to do is download the source from the portal and load it in your Visual Web Developer IDE and play around with it for some time. Okay, let's continue with the lesson. Ensure user enters data compulsorily. This is done with the help of the required field validator. Let's say we have a text box called name and then we want the user to compulsorily enter a name. For this purpose, we use a required field validator. The control to validate attribute would specify the ID of the text box or the control where the user is going to enter the data. We have error message that will be displayed to the user as name is required if the user does not enter the data and presses the submit button. And the display is dynamic, meaning this control comes into place only when the validation fails. On the HTML page, there is no space reserved for this validator. The other alternate value for display is static. If we say static, then there is a space always reserved for this validator. You would see some extra spaces beside each text box. Okay, so this is the required field validator. Let's say we want to make sure the user enters data within a range. If we have a text box with ID as joining date and we expect the user to enter a date value, we would use a range validator and specify the minimum value and the maximum value. We also need to specify the type which is going to be used for the comparison. Okay. And then we all have the error message which says joining date is not within range if the date falls either before or after the minimum and maximum value. Okay. How do we compare two data? Remember we had two password text boxes, password 1 and password 2. This was the enter your password and then re-enter your password or confirm password. So we have two attributes, control to validate and control to compare in the compare validator. Okay, and then specifying these two values, control to validate and control to compare, that's the comparison and prints the appropriate error message if the data do not match. Again here we need to specify the type of the data that is being compared. Here in the password field we are comparing strings, so we specify the type as string. Remember we had a text box which says how old are you, and we expect the data and we expect the user to enter age data. Again here we use a compare validator. The control to validate is the name ID of the control where the validation has to happen, and we specify a value to compare, and the type of the value that is being compared is an integer. Since this is a compare validator, we specify the operator as greater than equal. Greater than or equal is the operator that is going to be used to do the comparison. If the user enters the data which is less than 18, we specify the error message. So this is how we make sure the data entered by the user and compare it to a specific value. The type property in the compare validator specifies the type of the data that is being compared, while the operator specifies the type of comparison to be done. The possible values for the operator are equal, not equal, greater than equal, less than equal, and data type check. For example, if you want to make sure only the user enters only integers for the age field, then we can specify that type is equal to integer in the compare validator and the operator as data type check. Okay, we saw in the application that when we entered a contact number less than 5 digits, it told us that we need to have a contact number which is at least 10 digits long. Okay, so this is done using a custom validator. This is not a by default validator provided by ASP.NET, but a validator which we can write. Okay, so a custom validator again has a control to validate, which is the phone number and has error message. But the important attribute here is on server validate. Okay, on server validate is the name of the event handler that will be invoked to do the validation. So with this markup in the ASPX file, the corresponding code file will have the method called phone number server validate. Here what we do is we look at the value, and if the value is greater than a 10-digit number, which is the least 10-digit number, and it should be greater than at least 10-digit number and less than the maximum 10-digit number. This is our validation. This is how we make sure that whatever the user enters lies between 10 digits, is at least 10 digits long. If this comparison holds good, then we specify the args argument is valid. Otherwise we specify it as false. Otherwise we specify is valid equal to false. Okay, so we did some validations. We added different validators. We compared the text. We did data type checks. We even have a custom validator. Now, how do we help the user fix the errors? Ultimately, our aim is to make sure the user enters proper data. We use the validation summary control. A validation summary control is a very simple declaration. Okay, we say display mode. What is the display mode? It's generally a bullet list and then the header text as please fix the following errors. Show summary equal to true. All the errors raised by the different controls are shown in the validation summary. Okay, so let us look at our example. Let me open default ASPX. So here we have the label as name and a text box, ID as name. We have a required field validator, which makes sure it is the data is compulsorily entered. Okay. Similarly, we have required field validators for contact number, for age data, how old are you, and email, and password, and re-enter password or confirm password. Okay. Then on the contact number we had a custom validator which has the property on server validate. Okay, here if you want to look at this event handler, we have to go to the aspx.cs file. So on the event handler for the validation on the phone number, what we do is we compare the value whether it is between the least and the maximum 10-digit number, and only if it is within this range we say it is valid, otherwise we say valid equal to false. This is how we do a custom validation. Okay, then we did a range, we did a compare validator where we compared the age using the operator greater than or equal. Okay, so and then we'll come to email later. On the text, on the password, we had a compare validator which used to compare two controls. Okay, control to validate and control to compare. The type is string. Okay, and it said the passwords do not match if there was mismatch. Okay. We also need to see the validation summary. The validation summary is a very simple declaration which will show all the error messages which are raised from the different validation controls. Okay, so let's go back to our slides and let us look at the email validation. Let's say we want the user to enter the email address in the format username @hostname.com. Okay. So for this we use a regular expression validator. We say text box id equal to email, and then the regular expression validator says the validation expression equal to some expression which is a regular expression. Okay. So before we understand what this validation does, let us take a quick look at regular expressions. Regular expressions are ways of matching data. The following are some of the meta characters used in regular expressions. Regular expressions are used to match characters. For example, the /b matches a blank space, and then the /t matches a tab. The /r matches a carriage return, which is equal to the user pressing the enter key. /v represents a vertical tab. /f represents a form field. /n matches a new line. And a / followed by any of these is used for escaping the particular character. For example, $$ matches just the dollar character. We also have some meta characters for matching, like dot is used to match any character other than the new line. If you have a square bracket and you say some alphabets, this will match any single character in the specified set. If you put a caret on top of, in front of it, just after the opening square bracket, it says you match any character which is not in the set. This particular expression 3-7 A-D A-D matches any character specified in the ranges 3 to 7, A to D, or A to D. /W matches any word character. /W matches any non-word character, and /S matches any white space character. Could be a space, could be a tab, could be a new line, form feed, anything else which is a white space character. And /S matches a non-white space character. /D matches any decimal character, and /D matches any non-decimal character. Some quantifiers, if you have 0 or more matches, we specify a star. If you specify a plus, it means 1 or more matches. A question mark specifies 0 or 1. A curly bracket with the number in between specify that number of matches. Curly bracket with a number with a comma matches n or more matches, specifies n or more matches. Curly bracket n, comma n quantifies matches between n and m. So here is a regular expression. We had dot star at. The dot star at specifies that the string must begin with some characters and must contain at least an at character. Okay. Then it is followed by 2 or more characters, minimum of 2. This is the domain. And then we need a period. Since a dot matches any character, to escape the actual meaning we say /dot. Okay, so a dot, we need a minimum one period. followed by a minimum of 2 characters that specify domain extension, either US or com or .net or whatever. So this is the regular expression which we used in the email validation. Okay, this brings us to the end of the session. I just wanted to briefly look at the email validation. Here is the email label, the text box, and then we have the regular expression validator. We say validation expression is .* this is the username. After the @ it is followed by at least 2 letters for the domain name, followed by at least 2 letters with a dot in between for the com extension, comma, .net or whatever. So that was regular expressions for you. So here is what we have seen so far. We looked at different validators available as part of ASP.NET, and we also looked at writing regular expressions for validations with a brief primer on regular expressions. Hope you enjoyed this lesson. We'll see you soon.